I both these teams I think are going to be defensive minded clearly in this game. Wisconsin very good defensively. Look, I think that could keep them in this game. I'm not a big Michigan State guy. I hear you. I would probably lean that way if I had to play it, but I'm not very high on this game. I told you that before the show. I found it interesting that you were on this one. Sean, any opinion on this one?
Tough one. I mean, you mentioned the quarterback situation. The team that obviously passes the ball better here will probably win. I think both teams should probably struggle running the ball. You could argue, Scott's been the better running back this year than Clement. I mean, the numbers sort of indicate that. Clement's not even averaging 5 yards a carry, which is, it's not that 5 is easy, but he should be for what he's projected to be. But, we'll see. And you mentioned O'Connor. He was decent in his last attempt. You look at one thing is the kicking game also. Wisconsin has a pretty good kicker. I think he's 10 for 10 this year or something. I don't know. But you're going to look into little things like that where, probably a low-scoring game like you said. The one thing that does concern me, Big Ten home favorites of less than 7 points or an underdog over the last few years, them and in the Pac-12, have not been successful at all as far as covering or winning. But Michigan State showed me a lot last week. I was surprised. I didn't think they would do what they did, but solid win over Notre Dame, and maybe they're sort of back on my radar. But I want to see them do it against another team before I start backing them again. And Wisconsin, not that Michigan State will look ahead, but like you said, Michigan on deck next week and Ohio State. So you like to think they try to get at least this one out of those three. Yeah, no,
I hear you. Like I said, if Michigan State, if I had to play it, I would probably play that way. Wisconsin didn't do much from either. Sean, I'm going to ask you, do me a favor. Give me a call right back. I'm getting a little feedback off your line, a little bit of a scratchy kind of feeling, all right?
All right, yeah.
Give me a call right back. Ryan, what I'm going to do, though, we're going to kind of, we're not going to give all the plays out right away. We'll give out 2, and then let's break down a couple other games here from the listener standpoint and kind of go through it that way. Jimmy Reno, shout out to him. He is listening. Ryan, he's a client of mine out in Reno, Nevada.
Okay.
Big fan.
What's up,
Good
Jimmy?
friend.
What's up?
Thanks for listening, my friend. Any thoughts on Cuse UConn? Quickly, no. I don't have any opinion on that game at all. Sean, you back on here?
There we go. This one's probably better.
Yeah, sounds better.
Yep.
Real quick, Cuse UConn. I can't say I have an opinion on that game. Look, Syracuse has looked bad this year. I mean, their offense has been pretty good, but their defense has just been a mess. And that's Dino Babers' calling card. I mean, their offense is pretty up tempo. They want to run 90 plays a game, but defensively they're just not very good. Donnie Wright said chiming in, both starting corners out for Cuse. Look, UConn wants to slow you down. They want to win 13-10. That's kind of their MO. That's what they did last week to Virginia. That's the thing. Can UConn slow them down? They try to master that. They did it to Houston last year. I know Greg Ward didn't play, but still, they're going to try to slow you down. I don't have much of an opinion on that game. There are 80 games on the card. My advice would be to find one of those. Opspray, I think that's your name. That's what I would do, in my opinion.
I will say this on that real quick. They run 90 plays a game and only score 27 points.
Right.
A lot of not long, but drives that go 50, 60 yards that result in 0 points. I've seen a lot of it last week. Totals high, but until they learn how to score in the red zone, I'd stay away from the overs with them.
Yeah, I'm good on that game. I would avoid. Ryan, you would agree with that?
Yeah, I really have nothing on that game at all.
UConn never does.
That doesn't tickle me at all whatsoever.
UConn sports in general don't do much for me. I never bet on them in basketball, really. Yeah. I'm not a football fan of theirs. I faded them a couple years ago a lot because they were atrocious.
They were real bad. Yeah.
When they had Paul Pasqualeone as their quarterback or as their coach, they were just a total mess. Let's jump into a couple games that the listeners wanted to ask about. First one, Best Gambler, our friend Best Gambler, asked about Notre Dame laying 20.5 against Duke. This is a game I think is a bounce back for Notre Dame. I do lean them in this game. It's hard to back Duke right now. This Duke team's off of a 9-point loss against lowly Northwestern, atrocious offensively Northwestern, and They lost by 10 against the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, who neither team is good at all offensively. Duke is having trouble scoring. Losing Thomas Sirk was big. They haven't been able to run the football like they normally can. Defensively, they've been kind of poor. They're just not scoring points. And Notre Dame, off of a tough loss, they're a 1-2 football team. They're back at home here. I mean, Ryan, can you make the case that Nevada is better than Duke, maybe?
Yeah, Duke's been real poor. I mean, ever since they lost Sirk, and not even sure how they would be with Sirk in the lineup. But yeah, they've been really bad. I mean, offensively they just can't really score. Defensively they've been fine, only giving up 18 points a game, but they're just really kind of struggling to score. So.
I think they're really going to have trouble stopping Kaiser in this game. I mean,
Jeff, they gave up 24 points last week to Northwestern.
Right. No,
a Northwestern team that. They're struggling to get to double digits this year.
That's my point. And, like I said, the Nevada comparison was, I feel like Duke and Nevada are kind of the same level. I mean, they made mincemeat of Nevada, 39-9. I could see a similar outcome here. I got to be honest. I think this is like a 41-10 type of game. I think they hammer Northwestern. Or not Northern Duke. Just my opinion. Again though, Notre Dame has struggled on the defensive side of the football.
And that's what we kind of worry about.
That would be my angle. Best gambler. It's for me Notre Dame or nothing here, and you're getting it on under 3 touchdowns. It's a pretty good line. Sean, any opinion here?
The line's a little big, but the one.
You think it's big? Wow, I thought it was low. Honestly.
I don't know. I just could see Notre Dame not hitting 35. That kid Brendan Borders for Duke is good. Leads the FBS in interceptions. I could see him in the fourth quarter when you look in the cover, take a meaningless drive off and end the game that way. All of a sudden there's 6 minutes left and Notre Dame runs the clock out after they get the ball back. Just some bullshit type thing like that. I don't know.
Yeah, look, I will admit I considered making this a premium play. The one knock for me was, you saw Notre Dame's defense, but again, I'm not sure Duke's really has the ability to move the football. So
Duke, they scored 27 points the last 2 weeks combined. Man, they're in a bad way right now. And if there's ever a time for Notre Dame to have a bounce back game and just get an absolute ass whipping, it's this week. Because if not, I don't know what to say about this Notre Dame team. Then, if they struggle with Duke, that's an issue.
Yeah, and agreed. This really at home looks like a bounce back game. Got to get the train on the track.
There's a few of those spots this week that you can find as far as teams going back home, coming off losses, bounce back games,
or even on the road.
Right.
So best gambler, I would lean Notre Dame if you ask me. I think most of us will agree here. Sean didn't really have a good keyed-in opinion on it. Donnie Rarig, our friend Donnie Rarig, Ryan, asking about his Mountaineers hosting BYU. And this is actually a neutral field game. This is at Redkin Stadium in Landover. Yeah, a FedEx Field. Which, by the way, one of the worst stadiums in America.
It's a dump. Yeah.
Total junk. I've been there, and it's awful.
I've never heard anyone say anything good about it.
Yeah, it's terrible. The parking situation may be the worst I've ever seen. It really is bad. But, BYU coming in here, and it's an interesting spot because it seems like BYU – every game it stays within 3 points.
Yeah.
It's like 17-14, 21-18, 27-24, always close. West Virginia obviously not their typical selves, you would say, not that up-tempo, great receiver kind of team. I will point out, I haven't watched much West Virginia football this year. I know they handled Missouri pretty easily a couple weeks ago. I like BYU. I like Taysom Hill. I like Jamal Williams. I think defensively they're pretty strong. I'm sorry, my friend, but I don't have much on this game. I got to say, though, I would probably lean with the points here. I think BYU is a scrappy team. This is kind of a game that can really kind of define a season, go on the road and win a game like this. Ryan, do you have anything on this game?
It's funny. I kind of like West Virginia here. That's kind of where I would lean. BYU is scrappy, and they've kind of really challenged themselves going to Utah and then last week against UCLA. But so is West Virginia. West Virginia has shown that they can win in a variety of ways so far in this young season. They can go and they can beat a up-tempo Arizona State team, or they can win against a kind of just gritty, defensive-minded team like Missouri, a team in which they scored 26 points against, against Missouri, that's a pretty decent number, 27 points, in my opinion. So, look, I like West Virginia. Taysom Hill has, for whatever reason, not been real sharp so far in this young season. 2 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Turn the ball over against West Virginia, give them a short field with that high-octane offense, and that's trouble. So I would lean West Virginia here, actually.
Sean, any thoughts?
It's one of my bigger plays, so I'm going to pass on them.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, Donnie, I would
Sean, side or a total?
Donnie,
Just curious.
Donnie, you'll see it later in the week.
Okay. Is it a total or a
side
side?
or total, Sean? Just curious.
Ooh, I don't know how to describe that one.
Okay. I think I know where your head is.
It could be a mixture of both.
Okay.
Right.
I think I know where your head's at, but okay, we'll leave it at that.
All right. Well, I'm sure you guys can talk off the air on what that is.
Sure.
Donnie, I will pass on this one. Sean has a client play. Ryan actually likes West Virginia. I guess I'll go BYU. I like the Mormons, okay? I'm going to go Mormons here. Let's do another one here. Fred Courier, Ryan, our old friend Fred.
Oh, Freddie.
Up there in Rochester, wherever the hell he is.
Buffalo or something like that. Rochester.
Right.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you're right. He's asking me about Vatek laying 11.5 against the ECU Pirates, who I have a little bit of a soft spot for. I like ECU. I've taken them this year, Ryan, in 2 teasers, and they've covered both of them.
They have.
An ugly performance last week against the University of South Carolina. Outgained them in yards, played well, just could not find the goddamn end zone until late in the game. Zay Jones, Ryan, 22 catches last week against South Carolina. That's pretty impressive. They've had 2 very good receivers. Remember they had Justin Hardy a year or 2 ago?
Yep.
He's now on the Atlanta Falcons. So they've had a good group of wide receivers. And their pass offense has been very efficient. They actually lead the country. I was blown away by this. They lead the country in completion percentage, 79%. Mm-hmm. Pretty impressive. Virginia Tech, a team that, is up and coming. I think, they're in a tough conference, clearly. I could see a situation. I know you're going to maybe think I'm crazy here. I could see them winning the Coastal. I mean, they do avoid all the big teams in the ACC. They don't play Clemson, don't play Louisville, and do not play Florida State. So, maybe. But ECU's grinding. They're grinded out. They kind of work you around. They just hang around. That's what they do. I'm not sure 11.5. I think it's too much here. 11.5, 12. I would lean with the Pirates here just because they've covered. They've played well, and they're efficient offensively. I will give them that. They have that up-tempo offense that I believe Scotty Montgomery brought over from Baylor or Tulsa, one of those teams. So, Fred, I would side with the dog here. Vatek should win, but it's a 10-foot pole game for me. Sean Harnish, anything here on this one?
Yeah, be careful looking at Virginia Tech's defensive stats. They haven't allowed more than 100 yards passing in a game yet, and I get it. They played Tennessee, but Liberty and BC, let's face it, and that's not that big of a deal. But 10 turnovers in the 3 games for Virginia Tech worries me a little bit. And you talked about ECU. I like them as well. They were one of my dogs of the week earlier. And also, that South Carolina game, like you mentioned, they lose by 5. They were down in the red zone a ton, 2 for 400 yards. That South Carolina red zone defense is good. It's good for anything other, for as bad as they might be, they have a really good red zone defense. So, and they had a bunch of turnovers. They could have easily won that game. I think they hang around. I agree with you. I think they can hang around in this game. Yeah, so,
Fred, I would go dog here. Donnie Wright said, Ryan, pointing out, against South Carolina, ECU had 34 first downs, only scored 15 points. That's pretty unbelievable. They just were allergic. You and I were watching the game. They just couldn't get in the end zone. You're turning the ball over in the red zone.
3 turnovers actually in the end zone, where the ball ended up in the end zone, and it resulted in turnovers, which is crazy.
And I actually had them. I had them in a teaser, and I was. It just was uneasy all game, and then they got a touchdown late, and it kind of sealed it. But Yeah, I would go ECU. Do you like that, Ryan?
I'm kind of neutral on it,
You're
Jeff,
not
to be
really
honest
into it?
with you. One takeaway that kind of opened my eyes last week, only thing I'll say on the game, that kind of opened my eyes last week as it was happening, and then again as I see it here. Virginia Tech scored 49